Jets, I hear them saying now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, YouTube? And we are back for episode 2 of the Jet Fuel podcast. I am your host, as always, Joe Scurto. Do me a favor, please like and subscribe to the channel. Any of the help works. Obviously, just starting up this channel, so much appreciated to my already subscribers and my future subscribers. You could also follow me on social media platforms such as Twitter and Instagram at Turn Up the Jets, all one word, pretty active there. So for this episode, excited to really just break down the 2023 New York Jets draft class as the NFL draft took place on Thursday, the 28th. To Saturday the 30th, or was it the 27th to the 29th? You get it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as the draft was taking place in Kansas City, and a lot of exciting things have happened. And there's a lot of, I would say, shit talk in terms of the Jets 2023 draft class. I mean, beggars can't be choosers, man. And obviously what the Jets witnessed last season with their draft class is basically impossible to repeat. We may never see a draft class that stacked ever again. That's like once in a generational type of draft with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, who both won Rookie of the Years. Breece Hall would have probably won Rookie of the Year in the pace that he was going at within the first 7 weeks. Jermaine Johnson has shown a lot of promise. It seemed like he made an impact every play that he was on the field, even though it was kind of a minimum type of deal. Same with Michael Clemens, had impact every time he touched the field. And Max Mitchell looks like a promising future, maybe right tackle, before just unfortunately getting diagnosed with blood clots. Obviously his recovery has gone well, and what I've read, it is. So thank goodness, because he is another really good player. So the Jets just lucked out last year. So it seems like the expectations were already dampened even before Goodell or before anyone, I should say, announced the Jets' 15th overall pick and all the other ones. They did turn 3 Saturday picks into double. They basically doubled their picks in the last day, so that was good. Joe Douglas made a few moves with the Patriots, moving back and getting another pick. It's same thing with the Raiders, but everyone's saying this draft class stinks. Or the Jets got fleeced with the Raiders trade. Like, you can't get fleeced moving back from like the 5th to the 6th round. Twitter just loves to overreact. And that's what I'm comparing when I'm saying people. I have seen a fair share of analysts saying it is disappointing of what the Jets did. And it wasn't really a sexy type of drafts, but they didn't reach. Like, they were put in a tough situation in pick 15, round 1. All their guys were gone. Broderick Jones taken right before them as the Patriots just royally screwed them, moving back to 14 to 17. They knew Christian Gonzalez was already going to be on the board because of the teams picking before them. Didn't really need a corner, especially the New York Jets. So they move back. The Steelers move up. They go snag Broderick Jones, who ended up being the final piece of the puzzle in terms of offensive linemen. It's unfortunate. Right goes to the Chicago Bears. You have Szczynski. I probably even pronounced his name wrong. Goes to the Titans. Broderick Jones to the Steelers. And then the first one off the board was Paris Johnson as the Cardinals moved back and took him, I believe, with the 6th overall pick. So those guys were all gone. And the Jets didn't necessarily panic and just pick the 5th ranked offensive lineman, then the best one on the board at 15. They didn't do that. I knew they kind of went down all the way down to the wire because they were trying to trade the pick, obviously. And nobody was bidding because this draft class wasn't really too talented, didn't really stand out on paper. And, in terms of this, it's a really a result of a lot of teams not believing that this draft class was one of the better ones in the last few years because nobody wanted to move up. It was 15 was a weird spot on the board. So the Jets just took their favorite player who they had on their personal board. And we'll obviously just going to break down all the Jets picks here of the 2023 class. I'm going to give them grades. I don't think the draft class is as bad as everyone thinks it is. Is it a disappointment? Maybe it was a little underwhelming, especially what you had there on the board at 15. Jackson Smith-Njigba was, of course, the name that I know every Jets fan and their mother wanted at 15 because I personally did not think he was going to be there. He ended up dropping all the way to 20 as the Seattle Seahawks get an absolute steal. But let's take a look at the draft class. You start with Will McDonald, right? They take him with the Green Bay pick at 15 in terms of which was a part of the Aaron Rodgers trade. The Packers picking an edge rusher was kind of surprising too. I thought they were going to get Njigba. That was not the case. Will McDonald, the fourth, goes 15th overall. And I know social media really blew up. A lot of the analysts covering the draft were a little surprised about this pick. And he was really projected to go at the end of the first round or like first or second off the board on day 2. The Jets take him 15th. I do, strongly believe that they tried to trade this pick and they were not able to as soon as Broderick Jones went off the board. This is why you do not make your draft board public information. Maybe it's just the obvious that the Jets wanted an offensive lineman to, presumably block for Aaron Rodgers in this upcoming season. They were not able to do that in the round 1. But let's not really diss, McDonald here. This is a good player. He's first round talent. He's a top probably 25 to 30 prospect. It's not like they reached for a guy who was supposed to go in the 3rd round and drafted him 15th overall. No, it's not that. He is a good player. He was a 4-year starter. He's a 5th-year senior, but a 4-year starter. He had double-digit sacks from 2020 to 2021, 10.5 and 20, 11.5 and 21. And last year it went down to 5, but he still had 27 sacks in that 3-year span. And he only missed 1 game in that span. A lot of people call him bendy. He's a big dude. He's around 6'4", 250. I think he wants to get even bigger. He's an athletic freak. There's videos of him jumping over a car and an SUV. And then he's on the beach doing like these side, I don't even know, like these cartwheel backflips. The guy is obviously an athletic freak, and that's where the Jets go. They just went the most athletic guy on the board. I'll tell you why I don't like the pick for the Jets in 2023. In 2025, he may be an 8 to 10, maybe more sack guy a year. This year is an all-in season for the Jets. Clearly, they traded a lot of compensation to land a 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers in the hopes of him leading them not only to the playoffs, but the Super Bowl. This is an all-in approach for the Jets. They trade future picks. They're going all in because they have the talent, and they certainly think they do. And I believe they have the talent to be a competitor in the AFC, even though how strong that AFC is with the Chiefs and with the Bengals, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Jaguars, the Ravens, you name it. A lot of good teams in the AFC, but I think the Jets arguably is probably as good as anyone right now as advertised on paper because of their top 3 defense, because they won 7 games with by far the worst quarterback play. This is all in. And I don't think Will McDonald will be an immediate starter. He's not going to be. He's going to be part of the rotation. It's going to be very similar to Jermaine Johnson, but who says he can't make an impact like Jermaine Johnson every time he was on the field, or even like a Bryce Huff What Huff was able to do last year in terms of the little snaps and the percentage that he had was impressive. He got to the quarterback better than almost anyone in the entire league. Yes, the sample size is smaller, but my point is, yes, McDonald can make an impact, but is he going to make the impact to really put the Jets over the top? Could he make the impact of Najigba, who possibly could be an 1,000-yard receiver, a guy who can win Rookie of the Year on the offensive side? I don't think McDonald is a defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. I hope he is. I think the potential is there. And again, I believe he's going to be a very good edge rusher. You can never get enough edge rushers. And I really commend the Jets of not just panicking and taking the next best tackle, because that was the need. They took the best player, in their opinions, on their board. They took the best player available according to their board. Maybe not to social media's board with Najigba there, or maybe a guy like Nolan Smith, you name it, but they went best available on their board, and I respect that. They didn't panic. You can never have enough edge rushers. I didn't love this pick. I'm going to give it a C+, just because Najigba was there, and I think he should have been the pick, but I get it. I get where the Jets are coming from of you can't get the guy to protect your quarterback, so you might as well get the guy who can wreak havoc against the opponent's quarterback. You're going to see Josh Allen twice this year. You see Tua twice this year. You see Mahomes this year. You see Herbert this year. You see Russell Wilson this year. You're going to see a lot of good quarterbacks that are going to match up against this Jets defense, who is hungry, and I think they're probably going to be just as good or maybe even better because they didn't lose much that they did from last year to this season. So I don't hate the pick. It's just not a sexy pick, and I'm not going to sit here and complain because I believe in Joe Douglas's vision. I just think, first round pick, it's the immediate impact. And I hope I watched this video back in December of 2023 at the end of the year, and McDonald is one of the best defenders in this rookie class, or if not the best. I hope that happens. I just don't see the immediate impact. I like the player. I do. And I get the pick, but not for this year. It doesn't really make sense. It was a head scratcher at the moment. I have watched film on him since. He's clearly an impressive player. Clearly. He's very explosive. There's a video of him going against Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, who, by the way, went 10th overall to the Chicago Bears. And he actually absolutely just blew him up during the Senior Bowl workouts. I believe that's where that video was taken. And he just did this ridiculous spin move and got in like this. I mean, Wright didn't even have a shot. He was just walking backwards. It was ridiculous. But he has these lengthy arms. He's a good strip tackler. He really is a good defender in terms of forcing fumbles and forcing turnovers, and the Jets love that. They needed plenty of those during the end of the year, which they weren't able to get. He's a big play guy, and I think he's going to have a few moments that you go, wow, good play, Will. That's why we chose you. That's why Joe Douglas took you. But it's not a jump off the paper type of draft pick. It's obviously not what any Jets fan was expecting. Again, I didn't think Najigba would have been there at 15. He was, and I wasn't a guy that thought the Jets had to get a receiver. A lot of people are kind of in between, and I get it. You have their top four receivers in Garrett Wilson, Lazard, Harmon, Davis. Harmon and Davis have had injuries in the past. You don't really have plenty of depth after that. That's the thing. And I honestly thought the Jets were at least going to take a late round receiver. That is not the case. And they must really just believe that Rodgers is going to turn all these guys into stars. It could happen. I hope it happens. And with the Jets, I think it's just that this is where they decided to go. They decided to get the best available on their board and see what happens after that. Because I kind of got sidetracked here. I didn't necessarily think the Jets needed a receiver, but when Najigba on the board that was my scenario. If Najigba was on the board and the top four tackles are gone, I'm taking him. He's the best available in my opinion. He's going to make the immediate impact in 2023. Maybe the Jets didn't think so. I thought he would have really added a presence playing alongside with Garrett Wilson, his teammate with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Apparently he was expecting to be a Jet once the Jets got there and their linemen were gone. not the case. So Will McDonald is round one. Let's go to round two in Joe Tippmann, center, and we are hearing, or I am hearing, he will be a guard as well because he's 6'6". That's pretty big for a center. I think his future probably will be in the interior as a guard. Could be both, but out of Wisconsin. This was my favorite pick of the Jets in the entire draft. You know, a 2-year starter from a Big Ten school. I feel like offensive linemen have a good track record in the Big Ten, right? Coming into the NFL. I feel like it's a good track record for these type of guys like Joe Tippmann. I really like this pick. And this was the pick that, okay, the Jets had filled a need. You know, they filled a need. They have a veteran guy who played center, who started 2 years for a respectable Wisconsin program. This was the pick. He's a lot more athletic than you would think for a guy who's 6'6", 320, and he doesn't give up on plays. That's what I kind of saw. He was a hustle guy. For a big guy, he would hustle, and he would not stop pushing the defender till the whistle's blown. You know, the effort that he shows, the sneaky athleticism that he shows, and obviously the pure strength. He's 6'6". He is a very strong dude. But I love this pick, and I'll tell you why. And I give this pick an A-. You know, this is my highest rated for the Jets. A- was the best pick, in my opinion. And it was Joe Tippmann. So I tell you why I gave him an A-, because he's going to play a role. As of right now, he's not a starter on the roster. He's not. He's not going to be an opening day starter. Bearing any injuries, let's hope that doesn't happen. The starting offensive line is going to be McGovern at center, Lakin Tomlinson and AVT at guards, and Becton and Dwayne Brown at tackle. Probably Dwayne Brown at left and Becton at right just to start the year. If all those guys are healthy, those are going to be the starting five for the Jets for whoever they play week one. I'll tell you why Tippmann is so crucial, though, because he is a center and a guard. Let's say everyone in their mind knows that Mekhi Becton has played one game out of the last 34 that the Jets have played due to knee injuries, and now he has dropped the weight, and I am really, really confident that Mekhi Becton is bouncing back this season. He looks so much healthier. He looks so much more confident, and even though he lost weight, he looks stronger because he lost that weight and he turned it into muscle, and he looks confident. I think Mekhi Becton is going to be the rookie Mekhi Becton that we saw, who almost should have gone to the Pro Bowl. He was that impressive. So I am confident in Mekhi Becton. But let's just say you have two injury-prone tackles, right? Elijah Vera-Tucker is by far their best offensive lineman. He might be one of their best players on their entire team. That's how good he is. He's so versatile. And what he was last year, he was going to be an all-pro and a Pro Bowler. He was playing both sides. He was playing left tackle and left guard at a very high level. He was playing right guard. He was essentially playing every position. If Becton or Dwayne Brown get injured, that is Tippmann's time to shine. Tippmann slides over to guard. AVT goes to tackle. There it is. Whether it's Becton or Dwayne Brown. You know, the versatility for AVT and now Tippmann allows the Jets to slide and not really lose a ton. As in comparison of last year, when you lost the offensive lineman, they were screwed. The last few games, as bad as the quarterback play was, the offensive line play was arguably just as bad. So Tippmann is going to have that value of switching to guard and moving AVT to tackle. Or, obviously, if McGovern's injured, he can go to that center spot. Or, if one of those guards are hurt, he can go back to that guard spot. So his versatility is going to help, and I think it's going to be a factor this season because the chances are that all five in Becton, Brown, AVT, Tomlinson, and McGovern stay healthy are slim to none. No offensive line really ever stays healthy for the entirety of all 17 games in the season. So you just got to expect the worst in terms of injuries when it comes to that. Tippmann, again, I think he's raw. I think he has a lot to pick up on. And I don't think he's going to be ready for week one, but he certainly can be a guy that will have to slide in bearing injury in the interior line, whether it's either guard spot, a center. really any type of injury on the line is going to impact Tippmann, and he might be the first guy to come out. Or it could be like a Max Mitchell. But anyway, Tippmann, I think, is a great pick. It's my favorite pick. I'm not saying he should have been a day one starter. I'm not saying he should have been a day one pick. I just think, at the value you get him at 43 is insane. It's a really, really good pick for the Jets. And I do think that this is going to be one of two players that the Jets have drafted that could make an immediate impact. It might not be very immediate. There's one player on this board that I will get into who I think is going to have the quickest impact of this Jets 2023 team, but we'll certainly see Joe Tippmann on the field for sure. So after that, in day 2, the Jets, pretty much could have packed their bags and went back home because they did not have a round 3 pick. They didn't try to trade for one. Maybe they did. I have no idea. And then you go to day 3, in which, they were expected to have 3 picks. They turned them into 5 picks. I said 6 right at the beginning of the show. I am now realizing that is wrong. So they turned 3 picks into 5 with trading with the Raiders and the Patriots. In round 4, pick 112, their first pick of day 3, they go another offensive lineman in Carter Warren, offensive tackle out of Pitt. He dropped because of injury. He had a season-ending injury last year. Again, another multi-year starter. And he's rock solid, but he's clumsy. And how I say that is, if you look at his film, he's on the ground a lot. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's a footwork issue or coordination issue. He obviously has raw strength. He's a big dude. I think he could have easily been a day 2 pick if he stayed healthy, but he's raw. He's very raw. Like Tippmann, I think Tippmann's going to be a factor at some point in 2023. Not immediate, but he will be. I don't see Warren being a factor at all this season. And I would be shocked if he touched the field maybe at the end of the season. Hopefully he doesn't, because that means the Jets offensive line was really banged up. Because I think Max Mitchell is definitely the option that they're going to, end up putting out there in terms of tackle if there are injuries. And then, the Jets just signed Billy Turner yesterday, former Green Bay Packer, a former Denver Bronco. He started 27 games behind Aaron Rodgers, and he was, a pretty solid offensive lineman. I think he's going to be a great addition too. So I don't see Warren really being impact right away. I'm going to give this a C-, just because of the unknown. The tape doesn't jump out on you. I think he obviously has the potential, but just it's tough to tell of what he's going to be. Injuries are just automatically my concern in the rawness of being on the ground a lot. If he's doing that in the ACC, what in the world is going to happen in the NFL? So this is the pick makes sense positional wise, but again, it's not going to get me up and get me up in the morning. So I'll stick with the C-. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel about this pick. If he can stay healthy, if he can maybe, learn from an experienced offensive line coach, coaching will matter for a guy like Warren. If he's going to end up being a good player with the Jets, obviously believing, their coaching staff has to have a really big impact on the dude, keep him healthy, keep him upright, and let him use his strength. He's not all that athletic. And as a tackle, I feel like you kind of have to be athletic in today's game because the edge rushers are ridiculous. They're running 4.4s. So if he's going to have a chance without being, this really athletic type of tackle, you got to be upright. You got to show your strength and you got to have good footwork. And I think, coaching will have an impact on what, Warren Carter is as a player and who he is as a player. Carter Warren, sorry. So that's really my quick rundown on Carter Warren. Pick 5. Love this pick. Love it. Israel Mbakanda. I definitely got that wrong. Abanikanda, that's what it is. Israel Abanikanda, running back out of Pittsburgh. And this was the pick that I was referencing to with the immediate 2023 impact. And I think he will be that. A B plus for me, easily, almost an A minus, very close. I'm going to give it a B plus. You know, I'm not sure why he dropped so much. And I know running backs tend to do that, and you tend to find running backs a diamond in the rough in the late rounds. Look at Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs last season. He was a 7th round pick. But Israel Abanikanda had his best season of his college career. He was a 2-time starter. And look at it. He did not, and I can't even speak. I'm actually looking at his stats right now. It goes freshman, sophomore to senior. Not really sure about what that is. No idea. But anyway, he's got 400 rushing yards and 21 total touchdowns. He had 20 on the ground. He's explosive. He runs a 4.4 40, and this is a big time play type of back, really. He had so many big time runs this year. I mean, obviously, he scored 21 touchdowns. He is solid in the backfield. He's an explosive runner, and he's going to complement Breece Hall very well. And I think he's ultimately going to take off the load early on off of Breece Hall. Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Israel Abanikanda, I think, is a very good running back, Ramaya, not to mention Bam Knight as well. A young, explosive room who I think is very promising, and Michael Carter could be losing his number 2 spot. I think Abanikanda is going to be one of the main backs out of this backfield week one right away. I believe Breece Hall will be healthy, but how much are they going to give him in terms of carries and in terms of production? I'm not sure early on. I would really just make sure he's out there, right? If Breece Hall is out there, he's automatically a presence, he's automatically a decoy, and let him just ease things, in, or ease his way in, right? And I think that is the best thing that the Jets can do, and that reflects on why they go get Abanikanda, who is a big play machine. And that's why they liked Mecole Hardman, because of his yak. They want these explosive players with Aaron Rodgers. And if you just watch his film, he is a freak, and he is fast as lightning. So I think this is a home run pick for Joe Douglas in the 5th round. I didn't really see a chance of the Jets getting a guy like this. You go look at his stats, holy crap. And I believe he scored almost close to double-digit touchdowns a year before. So no joke, a really good player. And I think immediately he is the most impactful Jets player on this roster in 2023 as a rookie. And I just think that's what it's going to be. It's the 3rd consecutive year that the Jets have drafted a running back with Joe Douglas. Interesting. They go get Michael Carter, and then obviously Breece Hall, the home run pick, and then Abanikanda here in the 5th round. There's really not much else I can say, but this was a really good move. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has the most carries week 1 on the Jets. I just wouldn't, because Breece Hall, you don't want to really rush him back. You definitely want him on the field, but he's not going to be the workhorse, I don't think, until maybe week 3, week 4. And that was kind of last season too. He didn't immediately have all these carries. It kind of week to week. Week 1, it wasn't much. Week 2, you saw the promise. Week 3, okay. Week 4, holy crap. Week 5, wow. And it just kept going. And then you kind of think, wow, this dude is really, really good. So with Abanikanda, I think it gives you that cushion that you don't have to immediately rush in Breece Hall. Let's go to their 6th round pick, Zaire Barnes, linebacker out of Western Kentucky. And I'm not going to just sugarcoat it. I had no idea who Zaire Barnes is. And he was the only guy on this Jets board that I just never heard of before. No flack to him. He's a NFL player drafted out of Western Kentucky. I can't really give you a ton of knowledge on him. Obviously, I got stats up here to kind of justify what I think of him. I definitely watched some of his film, and honestly, it was hard to find on YouTube. But this was a guy who had a lot of experience. He played 35 games in 3 years, so he played a lot of football. He's more so a coverage linebacker. He's not a guy to get you a lot of sacks. I think that's really the type of guy he is. He had an interception last year, 4.5 tackles for loss last year. I think this is obviously a depth piece for the Jets. I'm going to give this a D+. I know that might kind of be harsh because it hurts me to judge these players who literally got drafted in the NFL and I'm on YouTube with a microphone. So it hurts me to say it, but I just got to be real. That's why I'm on here talking, sports and just voicing what my opinion is. Again, I hope I'm dead wrong about Zaire, but he's pretty an unknown player. It was hard to find anything on him. The Jets obviously have done their due diligence. Again, I'm going to allude it back to that. I trust Joe Douglas with my life as of right now. And, he drafted both rookie of the years last season. He just traded for Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to really question the man, but I got a D+ there for Zaire. And then top it off in the 7th round or the 6th round, another 6th round pick. And they get Jarek Bernard-Converse. And I really, really liked this pick a lot. I think this was a great move by Joe Douglas, a DB who can virtually play both sides of cornerback position, the nickel. He even says he can play safety. He is fast as lightning. He's close to 6 feet tall. I think he would have ran like a 4.39. It would have been one of the fastest, if not the fastest times, if he was to contribute to the combine, which he didn't. This was a steal and a half in the 6th round for the Jets. I'm going to give this a solid B grade for Converse. I just think it was a positional need for the Jets. I'll kind of bring it back to what I liked with Tippmann, Wisconsin, LSU, a solid track record with DBs. And I think the Jets entirely have had a solid track record of drafting DBs. So to get him that late, he is an athletic freak. The Jets had a common, I guess I can't really get the word out. There was a common theme. And the common theme of this draft was basically, let's just draft the most athletic guys on the field. Hey, this is a player who started all 4 years in the SEC. He started his first 2 years as a safety, and then he went to corner. This is the exact guy that the Jets need. If he can really just transform himself into the college level to the NFL and transition smoothly, this is going to be a home run pick, to be honest, because the safety depth is a little concerning. It is. You got Chuck Clark, Cameron Whitehead, and then it's just kind of not a mess, but a question mark. And of course, you can never have enough DBs. He can do both. He can do everything. So with the versatility, the pure athleticism, solid in coverage, I think this is a great pick. And if he was in the combine, he would have been top in almost every skill challenge that there was in the combine. So this was a really good pick. Obviously a low risk with a very big high reward. And they rounded out with Zach Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. Just a athletic freak again. He's 6'8". He runs a 4.5 40, and he obviously dropped again because of injury. He was in and out of injuries. This was a guy who went to Penn State. He ended up transferring, I believe, because one of his coaches went to Penn State. The Old Dominion had more opportunity, like at a school like Old Dominion, and he ripped it up when he was on the field. The athleticism is crazy. I think he graded out the best ever as a tight end in terms of just athleticism with his 40, with all those drills. He graded out to be the most impressive tight end that they've ever seen in terms of athleticism. And this was another example of the Jets saying, screw it. He's the most athletic guy on the board. Let's see what he can do. The Jets have a full tight end room with Uzama, with Conklin, Jeremy Rucker last year in the 3rd round. That might be an iffy pick. And then Kuntz. And Kuntz could be obviously a red zone target because he is ginormous, but he could be a big-time play guy too because he is very fast. I don't know what his impact is. Again, this is a 7th round pick. I'm going to give it a B-. I do like the pick a lot. I do like the player. I think he probably would have been a 4th or 5th round pick if he hadn't got hurt last year, because I think he would have showcased like, wow, this dude is really, really skilled and athletic. So I think he has to work on his blocking. I think that's really the one thing that scouts that I have read are iffy about him. But obviously, as a pass catcher, very athletic. I mean, you don't really make guys like him that big and that athletic and fast. A 4.5 at 6'8", that is ridiculous. So it's definitely worth and there's no risk. You're in the 7th round now. I think I'm more tempted to give the picks that I like a little higher at the end of the rounds because there's no risk to it. You know, the Jets traded into the 7th round. I believe they didn't even have a 7th round pick going into draft day. So Zach Kuntz, he ends things for the Jets, and that's really what this class looked like in my eyes. So I guess I'll really go back to all my grades here. With McDonald, I had a C+. With Tippmann, I had an A-, which was my best grade. Carter Warren, I had a C-. Abanikanda, I had a B+. Zaire Barnes, I had a D+. Bernard, I had I believe a B. And then Kuntz, I said B-, but I actually have a C on my paper. So I'm sorry, Kuntz, but I'm gonna go back to my initial reaction, and I'm gonna give Kuntz a C. I don't know where I got to the other grade, but we are going to add this up. I probably should have done this before I went on air, but I don't really care. We just kind of do things on the go here on the Jet Fuel podcast. So let's see how good my math is, how quickly I could do my math. Do 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 do. All right, the Jets C+ is my total grade. Little high school math, the medium. That is what I have. I give the Jets C+ class. I have seen as high as B+. I have seen as low as D's. I don't think it's a D. I don't think it's a B. I think it's right there. It's close. It's an interesting draft class. It's not a sexy one. It's kind of a high flyer. It's a lot of good athletes, but can they transform their athletic ability to the NFL? That is unknown. It's always unknown for the NFL draft. The Jets could have the best draft class of the NFL this year. Who knows? You literally don't know. Or they could have the worst. But I always love the NFL draft. It gives you something to talk about. I think really we're looking into now is, these optional workouts in which Aaron Rodgers is there. Aaron Rodgers is working out with the team. There have been a lot of cool videos of him throwing to Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard immediately. The day of, I think he got introduced, he was throwing passes to Lazard. He's been practicing, today. He was practicing over the weekend. He was at the Knicks game. He was at the Rangers game. He is a New York Jet, man, and he's embracing it. So it's good to see Rodgers there. I probably expect him to be at OTAs and be at every optional practice until minicamp in July. And the really main thing coming up for the NFL in general, May 11th, I believe, is going to be the schedule release. I definitely will have an episode there of just really predicting who I think is going to win. It's very early because I'm going to do an episode this early and then right into August, then maybe my picks will change. I don't know, but I'm excited, man, for the schedule to come out. And also the percentage of Jets fans buying season tickets is banana land. Apparently it's almost the highest they've seen in years. It was some crazy percentage. So shout out to Aaron Rodgers making the Jets fans believe, but I'm excited for the schedule to drop. I will definitely be, placing my opinion, giving my picks and more. And of course, if something happens, I know I briefly mentioned it too. But the Jets did sign, another offensive lineman piece in Billy Turner. So Turner is a New York Jet. I think he just got introduced or signed the contract today. I don't know, today or yesterday. That was announced yesterday, though. Another Green Bay Packer. I think it's like the 4th former Green Bay Packer they got now with Rodgers, Lazard, Turner, and then Boyle, Tim Boyle, the backup quarterback. now for the Jets. And then you got Nathaniel Hackett, who, of course, was a former Green Bay Packer offensive coordinator. So it's piling up. I expect, honestly, more. I still think Randall Cobb is going to be a Jet. I could definitely see that, unless he doesn't want to play. But at the meantime, it's going to be a little slow. It's just going to be us drooling by Aaron Rodgers in optional practices in May and throwing dots to Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard. But as always, it's been a pleasure. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for just listening to me spew bullshit, and sometimes I can't speak. So I am glad that you guys all come on and listen to me, to the few that do. So I really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram too. I just realized I didn't have this on the entire time, so I can't really even advertise myself. But Turn Up the Jets, all one word, Twitter and Instagram. I am very active on both of those. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you next time when I just think of, coming on the mic and talk football if something cool happens. So we'll see you next time.
Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jet, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.